Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk,
Taking
where we have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation.
Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk. We have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation about band, HBCU, band culture, music education, and more. It is great to be back. It has been a very interesting 2 weeks, and Portia's back after having some fun in the sun. How you doing?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Good. Well, it's been a lot of things happening in the music world, band world, education world. I don't know how many different ways you want to say it, but if you guys were not aware, David Sanborn passed away. And this happened more recently, I want to say around May 13th-ish. So I actually want to read exactly what came from David Sanborn's family. It is with a heavy heart that we convey to you the loss of internationally renowned 6-time Grammy Award winner saxophonist David Sanborn. Mr. Sanborn passed Sunday afternoon, May 12th, after an extended battle with prostate cancer with complications. Mr. Sanborn had been dealing with prostate cancer since 2018, but had been able to maintain his normal schedule of concerts until just recently. Indeed, he had already had concerts scheduled in 2025. David Sanborn was a seminal figure in contemporary pop and jazz music. It has been said that he put saxophone back into rock and roll. So rest in peace to David Sanborn. What up, Will? How's it going? Hello, Katie. How's it going? Brother Rodriguez, I saw you up there earlier. Another thing that has been happening in educational news, however you want to say it, there has been this very interesting conversation going around about a young brother and his female students and hair. So if you all have not seen the video, I'm pretty sure everybody's caught up on it, but I want to make sure that I give everybody the information. Young brother was caught. I'll say caught, but young brother was on TikTok getting his hair untwisted by students of his. Video went viral. He eventually made another TikTok of him explaining what was happening, and then he eventually got fired. There's been a lot of conversation about whether he should have been fired, whether he should not have been fired. I just want to have a brief conversation about it. Portia, do you know anything about this? Is this new information to you?
No, I've seen it.
What are your thoughts?
I'm torn. I don't know. I think it's a little weird. Like, why would you want your hair out at work? Maybe. I don't know. It's certain things I'm just not gonna do, like in public. So what was gonna happen with your hair when they were done doing it? Were you gonna sit at work the rest of the day like that?
I think he said in the video it was the end of the day and he had to go get his hair done. He had a hair appointment immediately after school. And then when I kind of watched his video, at the end of it, they kind of put it in these little bun daddies. Like these two little puff bun daddies, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah,
I think it's a little bit inappropriate, you know, to me, for that to be happening at work. Um, I wouldn't, when I was going in the office, have sat in my corporate office and taken my braids out. So
fair.
just because you can doesn't mean you should. And then it was recorded. So, yeah, I don't, yeah.
Yeah. So the conversation. So before I get into the conversation that I've had with other people and just watching the dialogue that has been taking place via social media, the first thing I would say is, just because you got TikTok don't mean you got to record everything. I don't really understand the thought process with, and I really, it'd be easy for me to say young folks, but unfortunately, our people are doing it too. And when I say that, I'm talking about people our age. Listen, you don't got to record everything. Everything does not need to be recorded. I don't care if
And
you
even
have.
if you record it, everything doesn't have to be posted. Like, what is
But that's
happening?
kind of what I mean. Like everything does not belong on social media. I don't care if it's a reel. I don't care if it's a story or a TikTok, whatever. You don't have to put everything out for the world to see. It's just not necessary. I don't know why we feel like that has to be something that we have to do now. Like we have to just put everything on for display. Is there an AEA one like that?
Hmm?
Is there an AEA one like that?
I don't
Squirrel
know.
moment.
This was a gift.
You got squirrel moment. Sorry, I have to talk about this very quickly. It's very unfair that all the newer people who cross over and stuff after my time get all the sweet Nelia. I'm sorry. There's just some sweet Nelia out there that I just don't have, and it's so unfair. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, but the conversation that I had seen was he was such a good teacher and he was good to the kids and people are making it weird and so on and so forth. Listen, as an educator who's been in this thing for longer than most, I'll put it that way, because I ain't been in like 20-30 years, but I'm an educator of an educator. My mom was an educator and I'm an educator, and my mom warned me of things before I got into the game, and that was prior to social media being a major thing. And even when I got into the game, the documentation that they always give you at the beginning of the year that you're supposed to sign in your contracts states that you are not supposed to record students, period. Now, if there are things that you are doing specifically as a band director or whatever, where there will be student recording, there is documentation that can be signed by the parents that will allow their child to be released for that footage. But you are not supposed to be recording children, specifically on your personal page and putting it out there for social media. Now, here's the problem with that. A lot of people will say, well, I do it. When we do band, we do it. Technically, that's still illegal, regardless of how you slice it. If you didn't have those parents sign a release form, it is not okay. It's not right. So the truth of the matter is, he didn't, because the act itself was not a fireable offense. Having, the young ladies pull, take out your hair or whatever, that's not a fire. If it would have never been recorded and people would have found out, that would have been like, come to the principal's office, we need to have a conversation. But the truth of the matter is, it went viral. And when it goes viral, then that's an issue, because now you're breaking code. You're breaking laws that in a contract that you sign. So if you are new to education and all these things, read your paperwork. Read your paperwork. Just because the world is doing it doesn't mean that it's okay. It's almost like Napster. I know some people would go LimeWire first, but Napster was the first one. It wasn't LimeWire, or it was Napster. But it was almost like Napster when you were doing all the file sharing and downloading music and movies too, because there was a lot of movies on that too. But anyway, It's just like that. Yes, there are people who were doing it backwards and forwards and burning CDs, but guess what? There were some people who got caught. So just because you haven't gotten caught doesn't mean it's any less illegal. Like, so that's the point. That I believe, and this is just my personal opinion. I believe that was the reason why he got fired. It had nothing to do with him taking out the young ladies or having the young ladies take out his hair.
To me, it's just unprofessional to be at work doing that.
Fair. I agree with that too. I absolutely agree with that. But again, I think that aspect of it, to me, in my personal opinion, that's the, hey, if it would have never gotten out, if it would have never gotten the traction that it did, that's saying, hey, come into the office, we need to have a rap. What you did was unprofessional, and that's not what we tolerate here on this campus specifically.
Because where do you draw the line? Like, to me, being in somebody's close proximity enough to be in somebody's scalp is just
right. And
no.
And I've seen a couple of bits and pieces of the conversations too, and I think somebody just said it. I think Will just said it. He thinks the students are his friends, and you build bonds, you build relationships with your students. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there is a line, there is a limit, there is a point. And I think that just because you want to build these bonds and these relationships does not mean that they have complete access to everything about you and everything that you do. You have to still be the adult, and you still have to be the professional at the end of the day. Now that to me is a little different if somebody swings on you. Now if somebody swings on you, then that's a completely different conversation. But when you're talking about a situation like this, I really believe that the firing was not because of like you said, the unprofessionalism or just the taking down of the hair. It is really because the students are being recorded. You're talking about, I don't know if these were high school students or not. And even if they were, you're still talking about minors being recorded on your personal page.
Chuck, you talking about somebody lining you up after school hours before games. To me, that's different. And he was a barber in training. We're talking about somebody in the classroom doing school hours, getting braids taken out. I think it's a little different to me. Now, if you say he lined you up on your lunch break when he was on lunch, I think that's a little bit different.
Student lined you up before a game. So the student
did you pay him?
Yeah, because I'm looking at this. Is this a former student? Were they a student at the times when they were lining you up? I'm just asking. Maybe I could be wrong. But I don't know. It could be in the same vein though. I think that's pretty basically along the same lines. I think the difference is
they are not. Those girls were not professional hairstylists. If Chuck paid that young man between school and a game,
that's what I was gonna say. If it was after hours, after school hours, so on and so forth. Okay, he was a current student. If it was after hours, so on and so forth, and he was working towards getting his barber's license, okay, I can kind of see that. And see, you paid him, and so
exactly.
He's going into a trade. And I think the other half of that too, Chuck, is you didn't record it and you didn't put it out in the social media space. So I think that is the biggest issue is you are recording a minor and putting it out.
But I also think the other thing is you just asked them girls to take out your braids. This is not the same thing. Like, they had, the technical center, where you could learn to do hair and barber and all of that when I was in school. And some of the teachers would go to those students, but it was not in the classroom and they paid them.
Fair. That's fair. Now, the caveat to what you just said, though, is that most of those things don't even really exist in schools anymore.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you talking about when they used to have the little classes where they showed you how to do hair and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was like an elective. You could, like a
Yeah,
trade thing.
that's
You
not
could
that's not a
select.
thing anymore.
Okay.
When was the last time you been to somebody's high school? I ain't trying to be funny. I'm just asking because
To do what? I
That's-
visit all the time.
that's very rare to have that in a school. To have those type of trade classes, no, that barely exists now.
That's nuts. Okay, you're telling me something. I don't know. I haven't been to high school in quite a while.
Okay, so yeah, but again, just kind of wrapping that up. I watching the conversations and people got to understand there are rules and regulations when you sign your contracts. And his firing wasn't because he was a bad teacher, he didn't care about the students or anything like that. I believe, this is me, because I wasn't in the room when they got fired or whatever, when he got fired and when they made a decision. I believe that the reason why his firing happened is because the students were recorded. Minors, students recorded illegally, put on social media on your personal page, period. So that's my 2 cents on that. But let's go ahead and get into the other meat, pause, no diddy, of the conversation. So more recently in band news, we had this is going to be a hard one. We had a band director who recently passed away. He unalived himself. Before he did it, he left a Facebook, I think it was a Facebook post if I'm not mistaken. And it sent shockwaves through the band director community. I had a couple of conversations, one of which was with Quan, and with some other folks as well. And it was very apparent that in these multiple conversations that I've had with other people, other directors, so on and so forth, that the idea is not uncommon. If you remember correctly, when we had Steven on the show, he himself did say that he was to the brink. And so I wanted to have this conversation because I think it's very important to talk about and discuss the lives, people's lives, what people deal with. And this can go in a multitude of ways. It's going to start in the band room, but it may venture out into multiple areas. So, guys, if you're in the comments, please keep the comments going. Also, please make sure you subscribe, like, and share this out. I think this is going to be, I think every conversation we have is an important conversation, but I think this is going to be one of the ones that we really need to have come to Jesus moments with. So here we go. Here's the first question. Do we disregard the pressures of band directing? Do we disregard the pressures of band directing? I'm going to kick it off to Portia because Portia's the only one right here.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you, like, when we were in the band, I don't know that I was aware of kind of like the ins and outs. I was in the band, I was a student, whatever. But I know since I've been on the staff, and I've said it on here a couple of times, but I literally say this to Bethea a lot. I wouldn't ever want your job. There are so many people to please. Like when I go to work every day, I have a team that I contribute to, and we have share some dependencies. And then I have my manager. But you have to appease the administration. You have to appease the students. Now on a college level, riddle me this, but parents who show up, and the athletics has demands, and everybody wants something. And, any one of those things could lead to your demise if you don't satisfy that growing list of things. Like when I felt like we did quite a bit when I was in the band, but when I got back on staff, I was like, yo, like every time they had something at this university, y'all showing up. Like, what is this? Like, and then it is spilled out into the community. Like, I'll never forget, like a couple of years ago, they wanted the band to do something, but I think it was the week of homecoming or week of we were about to travel. It was something really a lot going on. But they didn't want, them to miss any more class to do this gig. So he said no. Whoever the person was called above him, and they was like, you gotta go. Like, it is too much. And then, you can't just be the band director. Like, you're a counselor to the students, you're a second parent, third parent, you're, all of these things. And I'm just like, no. And I mean, like, I when I get off work, I get off work. That's phone ringing all hours of the night, and child, it is too much. All while having to please and meet expectations for all of these different groups, and any one of them feeling that you're not could lead to you losing your career.
Yeah, so a lot of this conversation is going to start also be very personal because of the fact that I've experienced it, and I think that I'm still experiencing it in some type of way, and I'll tell you why. It's going to start with a story, but today my daughter wasn't feeling well today, and mind you, I'm not in education anymore, but she wasn't feeling well, so I had to stay home. And me staying home meant that obviously I had to make sure she was okay, so on and so forth. But I have the availability to work remotely. Like, I can, if I need to, I can work remotely and do whatever it is that I need to do. And I started doing what I needed to do. And then I just was like, you know what? Because I'm watching her, I need to be kind of attentive to her. So let me stop. And when I stopped, I ended up falling asleep. In the middle of me falling asleep, I woke up like really quick. Like, it wasn't like I was asleep for like an hour. Like, it was maybe 10, 20 minutes, and then I was like right back up. And I texted my wife and I said, I feel bad. And she asked me why. And I said, because I feel like I should be doing something. I say all that to say, from a band director's perspective, I think I have that PTSD in the fact that I was so used to my brain not turning off, because from the day that I started being a band director, it was, all right, I got to make sure that these kids are doing well. I got to make sure that this is written. I got to make sure that we're doing this. Is the budget okay? Do we need to talk to this admin? If I'm at home, you're absolutely right. There are multiple times where I got a text message, I got a call, something. My last year teaching in Dallas, like, we finished the game, I think it was a Saturday night, and I go home, I'm cool. I get a call at like, I think it was 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Yeah, we just got into a fight. What are you talking about? When I left, y'all were gone. How did this result into a fight? And so it's just all of those things. And I think that now I don't know how to function without me doing something because of the and I'll go with it, PTSD that I experienced as a band director, with my brain never turning off. And I don't think people, going back to what you were saying, realize the reality of that situation, that we're always trying to please or make sure that something is taken care of in some type of fashion. You can't have that job.
Not interested.
I mean, Do you deal with that now as a coordinator, or when you are done, you like, I'm good?
Deal with what?
Like the fact of like, all right, you deal with them when you're there, but
Hmm.
then when you go home, are you still processing them, or are you like, I'm done?
If it's something going on, um, I may process it on the way home. But once I come into this house, this is my safe space. All that stuff, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I can't carry stuff. And so I try to deal with it most of the time. If there's something going on, I try to address it before I leave. If I need time to process it, I'll do that on the way home. But for the most part, once I get home, I'll deal with it tomorrow kind of thing.
Mm. So
And that is learned. I go to I'll tell you, I'm an advocate. Get you a therapist. I've been in therapy for years. So I've learned how to process things differently. So and one of the thing part of that is saying, um, once I get home, this is my time. So if I need to deal with it, I'll deal with it later. And I mean, I work from home, so sometimes, but my bedroom when I go to sleep, where I relax, I'm not dealing with that. Now, if I need to deal with something the next day when I get in this office that I'm sitting in right now, then maybe I'll deal with it. But if I'm leaving practice or something like that, and something then capped off, if I don't address it, then I'm not addressing it until practice the next day.
yeah, and somebody said it. Brother Outlaw said that I wish I wish someone would have told me that my first couple of years, and I really do. If anybody who knows me and knows my situation, my first couple of years teaching. So, first 2 years was in St. Croix. I was teaching the middle school and the high school, and then when I got to Texas, I was doing middle school, high school, and then traveling to Prairie View at the same time. And I did that. I did that for 1 year, and then I did high school in Prairie View for 4 years. So it was a lot. It was a whole lot on me, and nobody. I don't remember too many conversations from people saying, "Yo, you need to learn how to just like chill back." And now that I'm older and I've had those experiences, now it's difficult for me to chill. Like it's very I really feel bad when I'm resting, and that's crazy to say. Like now I have Mondays are my day off now. I have Monday off and I have half day Fridays. I don't feel right if I'm not doing something on Monday. Like I don't feel right if I'm just here at my house sitting. I have to be doing something. On Fridays, on my half day, when I get off work, I gotta be doing something. So I think that
That ain't my story or my testimony.
I don't know how to turn it off
If
now.
I don't have nothing to do, I do nothing.
Yeah, and see that's amazing.
Nothing. I can't wait till Memorial Day weekend. That Friday, I don't have nothing to do. That Monday, I'm not leaving my house. I'm gonna get up, take a shower, put some more pajamas on, and chill. I'm no, that ain't my story.
I don't know how to do that. Okay, so along with this question, so I'm gonna go down the list. I'm gonna actually couple two of these questions together. Is this specific to men? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because when I look at the landscape of educators that I've known in the past, I don't know too many, not saying that they don't exist, but I don't know too many male band directors with families, because sometimes your significant other doesn't understand the pressure of what it is to be a band director. Because you when you marry somebody, specifically if you marry them in undergrad, or you find them in undergrad, and you going through the process, and they're on a different plane than you, just like completely different plane. They want their husband, and they may not be understanding of what that band culture looks like. So is this specific to men, or is this just that pressure of band in general. Like I don't know how many band directors do you know or heard of that have like full functioning marriages or families.
We talking college or anybody?
We'll say anybody. We'll talk about the whole thing.
I think it's a little bit more feasible on the like middle school, high school level. The schedule we keep, she got to know what she in for, or vice versa, man, woman, whoever. Because in the fall we are 6-7 days a week, and depending on what's going on, or things change. Yeah. And I think to Edwin's point, it's a sign of the times, because you think about it, the older band directors had wives.
That's a touchy subject though.
Yeah, because it might be a sign of the time, because maybe they won't say nothing. Maybe they felt some type of way and won't gonna say nothing, because that was a little different.
That too, but from what I've heard about older band directors though, they were doing.
Oh yeah, they had them, but they didn't have them.
Yeah,
so they had them, but band was the excuse.
Yeah. But no, I agree. It could possibly be the sign of the times as well. What I have seen, when it comes to, I guess you want to say successful families and or relationships, when it comes to the male perspective, is when the wife is included inside of the band world, right? So like if your wife is, a band secretary. So like my band director in high school, his wife, Mrs. Thornton, was like there 100%. She would deal with finances. She would cuss you out if you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. Like that's when I've seen it work. But when I've not seen it work, it's been wives who have been adamant on staying away from that, but wanting their husband to themselves. And I've seen situations where husbands were cheated on. Most of the situations I've seen or known of where husbands were cheated on. And so I don't know. I'm just curious, and I know that you're not a lady band director, so it becomes difficult for you to answer that question. But I'm just really curious: is it really one of those things where it is relegated to men?
But I think what you're describing is not limited to band. Think about it. People who have high demanding careers, military, whatever, people cheat on them, or they come back, they've been gone a year and a half, their wife pregnant or something weird, or it's like that. I don't think that's specific. Anything that is like time consuming, people take issue with, and a lot of it is, and some people can say that I'm okay with that, I can handle it, but people are weird. Like, I'm gonna tell you, it's the same thing. The wife don't want to be involved, but I'm gonna tell you, like, when I consider myself late 30s now. In my early 30s, I was vice president of my grad chapter. And so, I had all of these things to do all the time. And I was dealing with this guy that he's not Greek, but he just kept saying, I don't believe you got all this stuff to do. Okay. Well, I'm telling you, this is what I have to do. And he's like, is it that serious? No, it's not that serious. And you don't have to deal with it at all anymore, sir. But it's when people are weird about time and what their expectations are, and I don't know, it just all depends. I guess you need to know who you're marrying.
Well, the way you ended that is kind of difficult because the reason why I say it's difficult is because, and this is coming from somebody who's been with their partner. Feels weird for me to say partner. Been with my wife for almost 20 years. It's difficult because people change. Women change, specifically after childbirth and stuff. Hormones change, so you know who you're marrying prior to other things. Like if there were no children involved, then I think the conversation would be a little different. Maybe, what I'm saying? Yeah, wife. There we go. I appreciate you, Will. But it's I think it's a little different if it was just me and her and blah 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 blah. But people change. I mean, heck, even men change. Everybody changes over time. So you know who you marry. You know who you're marrying, specifically if you're getting them an undergrad. But
I'm gonna tell you what it is, honestly, to me, is a lot of times the other person is bored.
That's what I was gonna get to.
They don't have their own thing
thing
going on.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna get to when you said earlier. It's not when you said it's not relegated to band directing, because there are other jobs where men take, so on and so forth. But the thing that popped in my mind is the difficulty with that is the fact that band directing really don't pay a lot.
Sure don't.
Right. So, if you're talking about a man who is in a situation where they're making pretty good money, but they work a lot, the benefit on the back end is that the woman can reap the benefits of the finances that they have coming in. So they have the availability to go and, I don't know, do Mary Kay or something, or join this or do that. You know what I'm saying? Go to Pilates, but if it's just you, the husband, band director, and you trying to make a living out of that, and you making $40,000-$50,000 specifically in this economy, that becomes a completely different conversation. And then when you throw kids into the mix, that's a whole different conversation. So I don't know. I can kind of see what you're saying. I think again, the difficulty when it comes to, and I can only speak from a male's perspective. I know Crystal's in here. Hopefully, when we put the link in to join, she can give her perspective on it. But I know from a man's perspective, our especially if we're married and we have kids and so on and so forth, our job and our thought process is always to be the leader. We want to be able to take care of our families. We want to be the example in our household to our children specifically. So if we're doing that, we're working all the time, but then we're thinking, okay, financially, outside of all the stuff that we deal with band directing, financially, am I supporting my children? Am I there for my children? Am I there for my wife? Little Tyrone wants to play soccer. Can we afford that on this particular salary? Like, so many different things come into play, and I wonder, are those some of the pressures that male directors deal with, that may be slightly from women directors? That's why I'm asking.
Well, I mean, to me, the women experience, well, why she not at home? We got these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some people who will look at that as worse. Like, you spending all those time, that time out of the house, but we got these children. So I think it's two sides of the same coin. I mean, if you are a band director, you are spending some of your family time with these other people, and the entire family has to sacrifice. Yeah. So it impacts everybody.
Sorry, I had to put my mouse on the charger. Thing popped up and said about to die. But no, I absolutely agree. Keep going down this list here. Oh, here we go. This is one of them. Is it relegated to black band directors? Because, and the only reason why I asked that question is because I know a lot of non-black band directors, male
That
band
don't
directors
experience
specifically,
none of this.
that I don't ever. They have wives, they got families, they be going on trips. I'll be like, how y'all do that? Like, I don't see that. So is it just only with us, or is it happening in all cultures, in all areas?
Yeah, you know, a lot of those programs don't the resources is there to not have to stress about robbing people to pay Paul. And then I think the expectations, and I'm not saying all, so please don't try to fry me. You know, but some schools just have like a pep band to show up to the games. Like they learn this one thing of songs, or if they are a marching band and doing field shows, like it's not the same pressures. Like you know how we the blacks would be if one school played 10 songs the whole season and you kept hearing them on loop. They don't care about that kind of stuff. You know, we the blacks, the expectation is that you have 50 songs in your book, and you know you playing all the new rap songs, and you know all of that. You know, that was the field show they did 2 weeks ago. Okay, you know, those things don't necessarily matter to people besides us.
Yeah, I can agree to that, and I can tell you only from the perspective that I've heard, and this came from my good friend Ricardo Brown, Rick, doctor, by the way. Congratulations to my brother Ricardo Brown.
Yes, our brother is a doctor. Come on.
He is Dr. Ricardo Brown. So
yes,
but he ricked me. But to y'all, he doctor. But no, when he first got to UConn, one of the things that he did discuss with me was the freedom that he felt he had in the summertime, because he was able to now, and not to say that he wasn't able to go and do drum corps, you know, while he was at PV, but there was more of a freedom because of the fact that you know, we had like the summer bridge program that we did at like PV and all that kind of stuff. And so those things weren't happening specifically when he got to University of Connecticut. So there wasn't that pressure of him having to try to figure out how to juggle that or be there for both sides. And I say that, and that's only one experience that I know of, but I say that to say, I know that a lot of times, a lot of HBCUs feel the pressure of having to do these little summer camps to build recruitment and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if that's happening specifically at PWIs like that in mass. Could be wrong, but that could possibly be one of the things as well when you start talking about, you know, those pressures on that end. Another thing that I've noticed with my good friends who teach at high schools, and what I've seen being in this area where I live at, where it ain't a lot of us around, I can tell you that. Most of these band directors, wives or husbands are band directors.
Yeah, because then you don't have to try to translate. They understand the lifestyle. I mean, it's trying, you know, I would say it would be better to have somebody who understands the requirements, the culture, what it takes. And even if it's not a band director, somebody who was in band that can kind of understand.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. Being in band doesn't work. I don't know. I don't have a husband, so I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you why. Here we go. Personal story. The reason why it's difficult because being in band,
it's different. You're right. You're right. Never mind.
So,
I retracted.
Yeah.
Because
so like
my perspective is different now that I'm on the staff. So that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, cause I just remember like at the beginning, when stuff was really revving up, and my wife, we was in band together. So I remember there were nights when I was like, babe, you were in band before. You know that we stay busy. And she was just like, no, it wasn't like this though. And I was like, well, this is band director life. This is who you married. But no, it's just different. But I think the other part about that, which I agree with you on, when I see my counterparts who have their husbands or wives who are band directors, the other thing is most of the time I've seen them, they've been teaching in the same district. So they are on the same clock. They got the same rules. They teach with the same kid. I'm going to tell you like this. The school that my daughter goes to, her band director is the wife of the head band director at the high school. So conversations at home are, hey, Lil Johnny did great today. This gonna be, he an 8th grader. He plays da 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 da. He'll be in your band next year. Okay, cool. And then you got off the same time. You going to meetings the same time. So you're always together, and then you just be liking each other that much. So so I think that's where it's a little different. Is that allowed? I don't.
Ooh.
I will tell you this. I don't see there being a problem with them being in the same district. Maybe the same, maybe not the same band room, but I don't think there's an issue with the same district. And you got to understand, and this is kind of off subject, but kind of on subject, because when I see all these people I know who are like that are small towns. In small towns, they don't really make that a big deal, specifically in the state of Texas. It'd be like, can you produce? Are our kids going to UIL? Are you all getting ones? That's what that is. But by and large, I don't see most of them teaching in the same school. Now, same district, yes. Same school, nah, not really. So it is that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's really I think it's relegated. I really think it's relegated to chocolate folk, and
I mean, there are probably exceptions to every rule, but I just think we put a enormous amount of pressure on our own people. They ain't. I mean, because y'all crucify Poe Bethune Cookman. That's the same book. That's the same book. Maybe he said, I ain't finna be stressed out. And as long as it sound good, I don't care.
I mean,
one thing I'll say is I don't care if it's the same thing or not. It's gonna sound amazing.
Hey, that's what I'm about to say, because technically he just taking a page out of their book, if you really think about it.
Okay.
Because if I hear Land of a Thousand Dancers, what's that other song? Bum, 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 bum. If I hear that one more time, if I hear Hey Baby one more time, bo 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 bo. Oh my gosh, can we please?
But you know what they doing? They passing it along, and until the rest of these new people learn it, these vets is carrying it, and they ain't stressed out. We we put that undue pressure on us, because not only do I have to be a counselor to these students, a second dad, I got to do the administrative work of this band program. I got to balance a budget. I got to make sure that all this stuff is straight. I got to appease the administration. I got to appease athletics. And then I got to appease you internet band directors talking about my book and what I'm not doing and what I should be doing and what it's too much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And as a matter of fact, I got an example of that. I want to say it was maybe about 3 to 4 days ago. My daughter, she was like, we had a pet rally today. I was like, oh, okay, dope. That's what's up. And then she was telling me, what they were doing. I was like, was the band there? She was like, yeah. Well, no, I think she was like, because she's like, why? And I was like, because I see the kids walking around with the band shirts on. And, she's in beginning band, so she wouldn't have performed anyway, except for next year, because she going up. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, and then I was like, she was like, yeah, they performed. And I was like, well, what did they play? And she was like, they play, I think she said like the Jaws theme or something like that. Like just that, and she's in middle school, right? when I was teaching middle school band, that was back in the day. So they wanted me to, what was the song by Egyptian and Nicki Minaj? Boom, 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 boom. That one. They wanted me to play that. And I'm like, all right, you know.
It's too much.
Yeah,
No, nobody's doing all of that. Like, and that's that's what I respect about him. I'm gonna do this my way, and I love it, and they always sound good. So I don't care what they play. But y'all be upset with them. Take them out the SWAT. That's the same book.
Yeah.
He ain't stressed out.
He sure ain't. As a matter of fact, that one joint that he did on they did on Netflix, I remember he was saying he got to go cut his yard. So you got.
You see what I'm saying? He gonna go home, okay? He ain't gonna be up there all night trying to please you, the blacks and you African Americans.
All right, so moving forward though, and this is kind of opening up the conversation in the economy that we live in today. One of the things that is really high, and I actually saw this on my page, and I put something like this. I put this on my Facebook page. The economy that we live in now is stressful. Wages are the same and prices keep going up. And I've gotten personal calls. I've seen it posted on Facebook. People are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And with the level of strugglage that people are experiencing, I would definitely say unalive rates are going up.
Absolutely.
And my question, I guess, is what do we do? How do we cope? How do we open up and speak to one another?
We the blacks feel like, I'm gonna pray on it. And don't take that the wrong way. I just had this conversation with somebody today. I feel like prayer is essential. Having a relationship with God, that's my personal preference. If you believe in something else, that's on you. But I think God puts resources in place to help you. A lot of people are like, you're so different than you used to be. Yeah, I got a therapist, child. It keeps me level, and stuff ain't gonna always be sweet. And sometimes I go in there and she tell me some stuff I don't want to hear, but sometimes talking to somebody that don't know nobody beyond me, in this situation is helpful. But if that doesn't work for you, if you don't want a therapist, people have to find outlets. Some people, like I used to read, but then I went and got a master's and I just haven't been able to pick that back up. I don't know. My brain won't do that anymore. But music is a safe space for me. Depending on my mood, my playlist is crazy. You'll hear some of any and everything. But if I'm in a bad space and it's not time for a therapy session, music. But I know what I need to do to cope. Like, people don't like to self-reflect and evaluate and figure out their triggers. People don't want to talk about what makes them upset. And how to cope with that. But I also feel like people don't have coping skills anymore. We just kind of go to extremes. Instead of trying to figure out ways to deal. It is a lot. Every time I walk past the grocery store, it's $150. I'm like, what did I buy? Like, what? I got one bag. What is in here? But being able to find what works for you and understanding that being stressed is normal. Being stressed to the point where you want to unalive yourself is the issue. Stress is normal. Having to figure out how to cope with eggs and everything costing $7 is nuts. But figuring out coping mechanisms and what works for you, like same things don't work for everybody, but I think we have to figure out what works for me, but what are my triggers? And how do I make myself aware enough of the things, of my feelings, so that I can address them before I get to a place that I can't come back from. And you also need your people. Maybe it's your person. But there's some people that can talk to me and go, something wrong with you. What's going on? In my voice, hey, how you doing? What's wrong? What happened? Tell me what's going on. No, I'm fine. No, you're not. You need at least one of those people in your life. So just doing the work on yourself. Because a lot of times we'll pour into and give 150% to everything but ourselves. Job, band program you work with, your family, everybody else get 150% and you give yourself nothing. That's why a lot of us are depleted, because we don't invest in ourselves.
You said a lot. So the first thing I'm gonna say is I don't mind being open and candid with the audience here. That I got to a point. I just happened to be on the phone with my wife when I got to that point. And it was because I was dealing with a lot of pressures from dealing with the band, admin, UIL coming up, making sure that financially we were in the right place, the needs of my wife, the needs of my kids, and I got to that point. And I happened to be, like I said, on the phone with my wife when it happened, and then we were able to communicate with one another. But a couple of things that you said, I really want to kind of piggyback on. The first thing is, yes, prayer definitely works, and God does put things and people in place. But one of the things that God wants us to always do is build community. And the problem with that, with us building community, and I'm only going to come from a male perspective, so I'm not talking about us, I'm only going to talk about the brothers, okay? One of the biggest problems that we have sometimes is the fact that we were told and taught that because we have to be leaders in our household, we have to handle everything on our own without the thought process of reaching out to other people and communicating with other people. So we hold a lot of things in and we bottle a lot of our stressors in. And because of that, sometimes we don't know when to release, how to release, or who to release it to. Or we have people that we want to release it to, but this is one of the things my pastor talks about. Sometimes we build these fantasies in our heads thinking that our friends don't want to hear it because they got their own thing going on. But we hadn't even talked to our friend to even figure
You
out.
don't even know that. But I think what you're describing, it might be a male thing, but that's also a black thing. We have sayings like, what happens in this house, stay in this house.
I can't stand that.
Stupid stuff like men don't cry and, all that is black. And we have to break down that foolishness. That's ridiculous. And we pick and choose when we want to have community. It takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to get through this thing called life, because it ain't all sweet. It ain't all sunshine and rainbows. And if you don't have people to lean on, it can get to be too much. So I think I know what you're saying. It's definitely a male thing, but it's a black thing too. I still, have people say, well, I talk about my therapy openly because I don't have nothing to hide. And people be like, for real, especially older black people. Well, what y'all talk about?
That's a whole
everything.
Conversation. Because
everything.
Older black people think that because you go to therapy, you're crazy. I'm like, that doesn't mean that at all.
No, actually, it's keeping me the opposite.
Exactly.
Because if you met me before then, I was that.
Yeah, and you may be right. You may be right. It may be a chocolate person thing.
It is. It's we the blacks.
That's crazy.
It's us.
Because well, maybe I could be wrong, I could be right. Because I was about to say I don't know if I see a lot of women having that, black women specifically, having that issue with communicating issues or problems that they're going through with other people.
We're getting better at it, but it's still a thing.
Mhm.
Now that's a good one. But in response, it said because some people believe living in hell is a way of life, and it's not. It is not a thing. You do not have to live like that.
Well, that's because we still have that mindset that we only are successful if we get it out the mud.
No, and I don't want to struggle no more. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, I did that. I had that life, and that's just not. No. And if I can help somebody else get something without struggling, I'm gonna do that. What is that? What is that? Why is that a badge of honor?
That's now that right there, that's a chocolate folk thing.
Yeah, I was. I mean, let me. You ain't struggled like I did. I'm happy that you didn't. Why is that? We comparing war stories. I don't want no more wounds stories.
I mean, we can relate that back to HBCUs for some reason.
You see what I'm saying? We all experienced the same thing.
Yeah, we all got an unfortunate story about HBCU.
You know what I'm saying?
What is HBCUs because of the struggle? But just getting back, building community. Also, you got to get a significant other. You just got to.
You got to.
You got to. And I'm gonna tell you why. Let me tell you why, Portia. Let me tell you why. Before you get to this point, the reason why I'm saying that is because if you get the right one, that is the person that you can lean on. Yeah, that person may get on your nerves. Don't get me wrong. They gonna get on your nerves. But you have someone that you can be able to communicate with, because remember, it's about community. And if it's about community, that person is part of your community. And you can be open enough to be able to share your issues and things like that, and be able to unleash and unload those things on somebody that you can trust. Now, that's why I said the right person, because some people are just terrible.
Yeah, it's pee in the water, and I don't have time.
It's not pee in the water.
It is.
No, it's not. Everybody's not a bad person, Portia.
Child, it's ghetto out here, and I ain't interested.
Listen, we gonna have a relationship. What's interesting about what's going on out here? I don't know. I'm not in the game. That's why I'm asking.
It's ghetto. We gonna keep on this conversation, but it's ghetto. So you tell me you have to, child. It's scarce out here. Okay, tumbleweeds. It ain't working. No.
You can't pull. God, Christ wants us to be together. You can't talk about the blank in the water. You can't talk about, you follow the word, but then saying I'm good on that part. We got it. God wants us to be together.
God want me to be sane, child. That's what he want me to be.
Hey, listen. Sane, whatever you want to say, listen, all marriages, relationships are not going to be perfect. I will say that. But again, I don't know exactly how ghetto it is out here. But I will tell you this. There is no situation of a Cinderella story. Cinderella story doesn't exist. Disney created that for the world, and we have eaten it up. I'm telling you. There are some days I love my wife. I love all parts of my wife, but there are
I understand everything you saying,
and I just be like, "Hey, I don't like you today. I just don't."
I understand everything that you're saying, but what I'm telling you,
that's why I say I don't understand where you coming from. That's why I say what's going on out here, because I'm not
bare minimum. People lie about everything these days. Like, it's so crazy.
I lie.
No. Whole families, pretending to be single. It's a lot. It's a lot out here. It's really a lot.
I mean, we're gonna have a relationship episode. We're gonna We gonna
Child,
bring
it's ghetto.
we gonna
Don't
we,
I'm no, I,
that's the
let
episode
me
I
tell you,
need
God
Portia to
gonna
be there
have to
for.
drop him off on the damn doorstep downstairs, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, I'd just be uninterested.
But that's the point. See, that's why we need to have a relationship episode, because we got to figure out what's going on with Portia and
Hold
the
on,
men
don't make
out
this
here.
about me because I'm not the only person
Oh,
that
no,
feels like this.
look, we'll open up, we'll bring all the single ladies, we'll bring the single ladies and the men on here. I'm just saying, I want to know what's going on out here, because, and the other reason why I asked that is because I got some former students of mine that kind of says the same thing. Some of the young ladies that I used to teach. So I'm trying to figure out what is it, what is it that these young brothers is doing, or brothers in general. So my God, it's pure water purified.
I ain't got time to build a bear.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We gotta get back on topic. We're not gonna dive into Portia's relationship today. We'll do it next week or the week after next. Yeah, we are.
That ain't a topic that we need to discuss on Beyonce's internet.
Yeah, it is. We can talk about it. We can talk. If we can have a Greek episode, we can talk about that. I'm just saying. And if we I'm thinking about having another Greek episode because
You
of this
need
whole
to, because
denouncing
baby,
thing.
it's ghetto out here with that too.
Listen, I just seen somebody. I'm sorry.
If this offends you, it offends you. But I just want these people to denounce and quiet, child. Shut up, child. Be quiet.
I'm not even saying all
Step
that.
back.
I'm just gonna say this. It's if you denounce whatever your reason is for denouncing, whatever. I'm not gonna get in that. But when I saw somebody today,
You talking about the non-Greek denouncing?
the videographer denouncing,
Talking about he ain't gonna film D9 no more
filming D9. Wait a minute.
because
So let me get this
he
straight.
want to be in alignment with God.
But here was my problem. This is the
I
problem
want
that
them
I
to
have
stop
with this.
blaming the Lord for all this.
No, this is the problem that I have with this. You're not gonna record D9, but you still gonna record a band with the songs that they play and the outfits that them girls dance in. That's in alignment. That's in alignment with Christ.
But you doing videos for Lil Wayne and all these other people who sing about doing drugs, being high, having sex.
Listen.
But God cool with that though.
Bruh.
Woo! I don't know. Truth is, I'm tired. I want y'all to go ahead, mail the paraphernalia back. Okay, mail your pen back, our materials, and go to hell on. That's what I want.
Listen, he ain't got no materials though.
I'm not talking about him. I don't even want to discuss that foolishness no more.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Who keep what's 32K? It was on Greek Shenanigans. This guy who made it big, got all his status.
Trend.t.
From
he
filming
records,
Greeks.
Yeah, he records Greeks.
And now he didn't put up a message talking about God has told me that that this is out of, I don't want to be against God's will, so I won't be doing anything else associated with D9. Shut. Child.
We are way off topic. We are having a
I'm
squirrel.
sorry, but that was on my spirit
right now. Yeah. Trend. Yeah. Shocking, right? Anyway, but moving forward, because we had a squirrel moment.
Truth is, I'm tired.
We didn't went on Portia's love life to D9 denouncing.
Right.
Getting back to this. I think it's crazy out here as far as the stressors that we are dealing with as people, as human beings, and specifically as chocolate folk. And again, I just really think that we've got to have a community of people that we can talk to. One of the things that I was listening to the other day, I want to say, I think it was 1 or 2 days ago when I was on the treadmill, was a couple talking about relationships, married people having people to communicate with when you're going through. Because like I said earlier, yeah, you can reach out to your partner, you can reach out to your wife or your husband, but you also got to have some other people that you can be able to bounce those things off of. That's the community that you have to bring. Or sometimes, brother, when you are struggling, hey, look, man, I'm dealing with this financially. I'm going through this hardship. Because you never know what that person is going through. You never know what they've experienced, and they can be able to help you. And one of the things that I appreciate my brother Quan for doing is that if I have a problem, before I say anything, he'll say, all right, bro, do you just need to release this information? Or are you looking for advice? Because I can go either way.
And that's important, because sometimes you just want to get it out.
Absolutely.
Chuck, I just want to point out that I just had that happen recently.
Huh? What'd he do?
He said next folks are going to denounce their bands.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I saw somebody doing that. I know this conversation isn't about denouncing. I just have one question. This is the only question that I have. Your time with Christ is supposed to be the most significant time with Christ. If I'm not mistaken. Please, somebody tell me if I'm wrong. But if that's the case, and you denounce all of these other things that you say you put before Christ, does this mean that you stop going to work too? Because aren't you supposed to die to yourself and take up the cross and follow him? So that means that you give up everything, right?
They're not giving up everything. Let me tell you something. From what I've seen, this is coming out of the Chocolate Folks church and people within the church telling them that this is wrong and you worship it. And they believe in it. The other part is I've seen a lot of these church people ask them to turn over the stuff to them. Why you need it, Suge? Why you want it?
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for Suge.
What? It's explain, not explain. Explain to me why you need these materials. No, dog. It's too much. It's too much. I am really, and I know a lot of people are very sensitive about this, but I can't speak to no rituals other than the in writs and stuff than the ones I went through. Child, I ain't never felt like any of it was against God. I don't worship no letters. Listen, I'm just starting to tell myself, you got this paraphernalia, you need to wear it. Okay. My relationship with God and my service to this organization that also services these organizations that service God's people is not in contradiction, child. Whatever your conviction is, but I just want them to do it in quiet. These releasing of videos and handing over your box of stuff with these documents in it to these pastors is weird to me.
Yeah. So first things first, I went ahead and put the link in the chat. So if you want to come in and talk that talk with us, you are more than welcome to go ahead and click that link. Please don't hit the trolling daddy, because on the last episode, it was some lame trollers. And we're going to screen all of you before you come in. So just don't do it. We had trolls on the last episode. Yeah. You missed it. It was some real trolling going on. Like some really lame anyway.
But yeah, back to the topic. Get you a village. Get you some peoples that you can talk to. And then, my therapist, she don't know everybody else. So when I be complaining and trying to work through this stuff, she don't know these people. Get you whatever works for you. Because the same things don't work for everybody. But I think, yeah.
And again, you also have to realize too that what's the word I want to say? the fantasy that you have built in your mind doesn't exist.
Right.
So, and yes, you may be going through some hard times. You may be going through some rough times. But that does not mean that what you believe is going to happen is going to happen. That doesn't mean that but you believe that if I go out and reach out to this person, or if I ask this person for something, that they're not going to be able to give it, they're not going to be able to help, they're not going to be able to listen to me. That does not mean that if somebody says we're doing layoffs at the job, that does not mean that it's going to be you. So don't create these things, and don't even create the idea of like people don't want to hear you and that you're alone. And I think
because you don't know that.
Correct. I think that's what ends up happening, is that sometimes we think we're alone. And one of the great things that I recognize, and the blessings that I recognize more recently, is the fact that when I start talking to people, I realize that some people that went through the same things that I done gone through, and maybe going through the exact same thing that I'm going through at that moment.
Yep.
But I would have never known that if I didn't reach out to people and talk to people. So we've got to be more open with talking to people, building community, and get rid of the fantasies that we have created in our mind that just do not, for the most part, exist. It hurt to see that young brother put that message up there, and then look at the comments of the people who actually knew him and conversed with him and were like, bro, like, we were here. The prior district that I worked at, one of the band directors, he did that to himself. Black guy. But when I talked to, his close friends, when I was there, so on and so forth, they were like, they didn't know he was going through.
I just hate that. That people suffer in silence. And yeah, I just hate that. And if, you're going through something, you feel like that, reach out. I mean, that just sucks.
It does. It's crazy because I like to watch the video or the YouTube link on playback. And as soon as I open my YouTube, first thing that popped up, Jesus saved my life, denouncing Freemasonry and Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I know that had nothing to do with where we were at in the conversation, but that's exactly the first thing that popped up on my screen. That was your fault, Portia.
I'm sorry. I just, oof. Mm-mm.
Hold on, give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. I was just trying to pin the link so everybody could get it. Anyway, so where do we go from here? How do we make band directors, or how do we make this thing or this pressure known as band directing a little bit more easier?
They need resources. I'm talking about at all levels. I mean, high school band directors wear 27 hats. Most colleges can hire people to kind of divvy it out, but heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, but I think for me, that being able to cope, to know what your limits are, to take breaks, to pass things off if today's not a good day. It's like a combination of things, I think. Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think you can't control the outside world. So you just have to control the things and put things in place that will meet your needs and to help, along the journey. Because I mean, social media is here. People are going to have whatever opinions they're going to have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with the idea of the resources. I think resources definitely help. And that pressure that we have as directors, it's a lot. And the resources do help. But admin help too. Shut up. Just be, I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I don't mean it as directly, but I do mean it, just not as directly. But like, I think the problem that has always bothered me with admin, not all admin, again, I will never talk in absolutes because there is no such thing as something being 100% accurate or whatever. There's always a percentage of something that's going to say, other than, you know what I mean, talking about data. Anyway, but the thing that's always bothered me when it came to admin was the fact that there are multiple levels of admin who have never experienced being a director, who have never been in that space, but then always want to tell you what to do in that space. And that has always been the thing that has completely bothered me on every level. Like, weird. Anyway, so matter of fact, I don't think we've ever done this before. We ain't done this in a while. I'm bringing both folks in because we got Big Sis here, and then we got the Connors down there. So here we go. We gonna see how this goes. Boom and boom. Yo,
Hey,
Y'all my favorites.
right?
Look at this. It's like a family reunion.
Family reunion.
All right, now don't bring out the barbecue shoes and the pit and I don't do ribs no more, but I do chips.
You know what's really dope? Me and Chuck are both now college professors. I just think that's super dope.
Growth
Mind
is
blown,
amazing.
right?
Growth is amazing. I love it.
Hey, I just got my course evaluations back.
Oh, I ain't even get mine back yet. I don't know. This semester was rough.
I got a hater. I got one hater out of like 75 kids.
Okay.
One hater.
he was all in his feelings.
Nah.
He probably like, man, who's this light skin dude? I don't get this light skin out of here, man. Nah. All right, so let's do this. Crystal, what you got first?
So the kind of the relationship thing, I look at band director and like police officer and all those service industries, nurses, where you spend a copious amount of your time at work, weekends, in some way. And I don't think that's so. I think there's a lot to be said that Black men still kind of carry this stigma, whether it's from history, that they need to provide and work themselves to death. Like my dad is the epitome of that generation. Like my dad had cancer and had a kidney removed, and a month later was on a roller coaster with me. That was definitely against the doctor's orders. And then like was back at it, and his health ain't the best. I think Black men get taught that, if you die, but your everything is taken care of, you've lived an honorable life. And I just think that's still the stigma with Black men. And I think band directing is just one of those industries, to be honest. From Black women, though, because we're coming from a marginalized place, we carry it too. We have to prove that we're not slaw. Because I've heard some chats from the male delegation, and I'm going to say our own brothers that talk like us, like dogs. We know. And so you go to work trying to be mom, wife, friend, and you get worn out too, because there's this expectation that, we have that work twice as hard, get half as much, right? And I think that's both Black women, Black men. And this consumer mentality behind band is killing us. It's just, I know nobody thinks so, but you can't be on 100 all day long. You can't. I learned that lesson post pandemic. I said I don't want to do this no more. I said my house is crazy, my family's crazy, my son, mom's not home, or I'm pulling myself to the playground at 6 o'clock at night, with a toddler trying to give him a little bit of his time. You can't sustain it. It's not sustainable. And the unfortunate thing is, it takes somebody taking their life, for us to understand it's not sustainable. Don't think that, he had some trauma that he had revealed, but don't think some of that trauma ain't that band room. We absorb a lot of trauma from our students all day long. I have referred people to, I've called the cops on people, parents, because they don't reported something that I have to report. You absorb that. You absorb students who don't eat, and you absorb kids who don't have somebody to love. You absorb all that trauma. And then now the consumer mentality, kind of pushed by social media, which is why I'm doing that show, that nothing's ever good enough. We now the bands are growing. Why your band ain't big? Why your band ain't loud? Why your band book old? Like Portia was saying. So by the time we get home, there's nothing left. Me and Dwight Edgar Williams Jr. had to have a coming to Jesus moment after the pandemic. Like, this isn't sustainable, Crystal. Not for me, you, or anybody in this house. And you have to listen. So what do? We quit, we walk away from it, or we learn how to adjust and put some boundaries up. B is my favorite word, boundary. No, I ain't got to do nothing for you. I don't have to have this band competition. No, I don't have to give up a Saturday. It's my son's birthday. No, it's my husband's birthday. No, we going camping with just us. No, I don't give a damn what you got to say about my band not coming to your crank up. No, I don't care anymore, because I learned a hard lesson. You care, or somebody else helps you care, whether the health is starting to go out the window, you in the doctor's office, you don't know why, all of it. So as far as at 40-year-old Crystal don't care.
40 is marvelous.
Yeah, and Crystal, you're saying a bunch of stuff that really resonates with me, and I've told the story on multiple occasions. The thing that really kind of woke me up was the fact that my son was born. When I had my oldest daughter, I would make sure she came to every Prairie View game, so on and so forth. But when I had my son, it was a little different, because now I'm head band director at somebody's high school, and I gotta be there. I have to be the one, and I'm the only one. I ain't got no assistants. I ain't got nobody. And my wife came to pick me up one day, and she had my son in the back. And I can't remember what he did. He did something. And I was like, yo, when you start doing that? And my wife was like, he been doing that. And I was like, well, I done just missed all of this progression in my son dealing with other people's kids, being stressed out every day, planning drills, writing arrangements, doing this, like all of these different things. And that for me was my wake up. So, I will tell anybody, do I miss being in front of the students? Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, I do miss being in front of the kids. But that is not going to take away, that is not going to take away the time that I get with my son, my daughters, my family. The beauty that I have of being able to pick my kids up, take them to school. I never had that, availability when I was doing what I was doing in teaching. So you're absolutely right. Connors, what you got? Where'd the dog go? I thought he was gonna talk too.
Oh no, he's chilling. Oh. We got one there and then one at our feet. Nah, y'all, I like purposely haven't talked about the unfortunate situation of the band director that happened last week, because it was definitely triggering, to read it and to see that message and to know exactly how he feels. And and to know that in a lot of spaces that we don't have the necessary support to come out of that. And and it made me think about, I was fortunate when I taught in Chicago. My principal was actually a former drum major at A&T, so very familiar with the band culture. And I'll be transparent. There was a moment that he said, "Hey, I'm sending you the therapy because you need it, and if you don't go, you're not gonna get a check." And I was really appreciative of that because he was seeing that I was really stressed out, building the program from scratch, in the inner city, and just working myself crazy. And that's why I typed earlier when you guys were talking about it. When I was meeting with my therapist, first time in therapy, kind of went kicking and screaming, but I went, and she was from the Middle East, had no idea about band culture. So all these things that I was telling her, she was just like, "Wow, like I had no clue." And the one of the main things that we identified was like self care. They're like, in your job and as a parent, you are always helping other people out. What are you doing for you? And I couldn't identify anything. I couldn't identify anything. It was always for others. And then you throw church on top of it. You throw organizations on top of it. Like you're never doing so. That is even now. That's still a struggle to uh, do something for me.
I
At
still
that
have that
point,
problem. I
right?
still got it.
It's hard. We don't know how
My
to do it.
wife says, "Baby, you got to do something for yourself." And anytime I have the availability, I just be like, "Nah," because we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to take care. I have yet to do that. Just buy something, do something, get something, go somewhere specifically for myself. I still can't do it. I know where you at.
But
Mm,
here's what I'll say is it's not sustainable because it's impacting you. You have to do things for you. You cannot continue to do for others and do for others and do for others. Burnout is real.
yeah, and I think
And
yeah, yeah.
burnout impacts you not only, mentally as we would assume or gather, but also physically.
Yeah, I was gonna say on the physical side, I think it was 2010. Um, this weekend we were hosting all county. We were hosting a jamboree that same weekend. Like I don't know how all of this happened all together. And I remember stressing myself like, man, we about to play in front of all these people for all county, and then we got this jamboree. I was like, I hope my kids don't sound like trash, at this all county. Like and I'll never forget in the middle of the jazz concert, um, I tensed up, and my district director came over. He said, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." 2 hours later, I was in the emergency room. I was in the emergency room for I had kidney stones, and that was a byproduct of eating bad, eating late, consistently. Like my first school, the Gambit, I call it the Gambit. Burger King, McDonald's, Bojangles, Taco Bell, Waffle House was all within a football field from my band room, and it took 50 minutes one way to get there. And so if I'm leaving at 9 o'clock and I ain't ate since lunch or didn't even eat lunch, I'm gonna give me something to eat. Especially I had taught there so long that I had some alumni. And they'd be like, "Hey, I'm working this night. You come through. I got you. Order something." Next thing you know, I got a big bag of like 8 burgers, in there. And so,
Smashing them all.
oh my goodness. And so that was just years and years of that building up. And then I was out, and so it's not sustainable at all. And hearing that, I never forget um, the late great Dr. Johnny B. Hodge, band director at A&T. He retired in 2002. That was my applied instructor, and I never forget when he announced that he was going to retire. I was upset. Selfishly, I was upset. I was like, "Doc, I done came here to study with you. I want to finish underneath you. Why are you leaving?" And his response was, I owe this time to my family. He had been there for 22 years. And you think about the hours, especially back then, getting out at midnight, 12:30, in sectionals, and his green Jag was always there. Was always there. And so now as I'm older, you think about, or in that position, I'm like, man, I'm that guy, or him, doing that, being there for the kids and things like that. And it's like, man, it's definitely a different perspective, and I understand it more now than ever. But then I didn't. You don't think about the time, that your directors are there and your staff is there, and how much it's taking away, from others. So
I think
yeah.
I think he brought me on here so I can let y'all know that I've been telling him that he gonna have to do a little bit less. I think that's why he got me on here. But because no, I we have kids. Our baby girl is her bridging ceremony or graduation into high school is tomorrow. So
And I'm fortunate I'm on a staff that it's understood. It's understood. We have individuals that have kids and they're like, hey, if you got to take off, go do what you got to do. So, but unfortunately, it's not like that in a lot of places. It's like one guy or maybe a couple other. And if one's gone, like, what's going to happen? And an unfortunate, you can't pull away. You can't pull away. And unfortunately, like you were mentioned with expectations, in terms of campus performances and things like that. Like I just had to sign off on some of my students in terms of their community service. You're in band all the time, but they still want you to do, community service on campus. And that, some people were trying to say that, it doesn't count. I'm like, what? I was like, nah. I was like, we about to write all that up, for community service. That's ridiculous, and so, unfortunately, it's not like that, and like was mentioned before, the family, takes a hit. The family takes a hit. I really think, and this is being very transparent. My daughter was in orchestra. Her new middle school here doesn't have orchestra, and I think she's anti-band because she spent a lot of her very young years in the band room. We were there all the time. I got pictures of me at my desk and her on her little play pink desk to the side doing her coloring book while I'm working on some music, and so it's always associated with that's where dad is. That's what dad's got going on. Y'all remember those I don't want to call them leashes, but the backpacks that they have for the little kids to
the
keep
leashes.
them? Bro, I always said I would never get one, but I never forget when our daughter was very little and she got to walking, and we'd be at these jamborees with hundreds of people. And if she sees something that she wants to go after,
She going.
boom, she's gone. And I remember I got her one. It was a little puppy, and then I had it like on my arm and I'm like on the podium. And, my kids were like, you got a leash for your kid? I'm like, look, y'all don't understand. Like sometimes it was just me and her. I got to make sure that, and I'm just not giving my kid to anybody, So those are just some of the things that we deal with. As much as I would love for my baby girl to share that passion, I see, why, because it's, band directors' kids or coaches' kids, and families, have to deal with a lot. Have to deal with a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit a whole bunch of stuff on the head that even I experienced. I mean, just going down to just your daughter, like, because my oldest, when I was at Prairie View, like all my kids knew my daughter, and when she had her birthday, I don't know if anybody saw it when I put up the Facebook post, but I put up a post that was like, hey, y'all, PV 2012 to 2017, y'all remember this little girl?
I saw that.
She's
I saw
12 now. They're like, oh my gosh, right?
My daughter's baby shower, she had a lot of baby showers, but one of them was in the band room, in my first band room. The boosters put it on.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's
Kids is another level.
Yeah, it just is. I mean, like even now, like I always poll my kids. I'll be like, yo, do y'all want daddy to go back to being a band director? No. Like, why? Because you won't be here anymore. and that's always their response, you know. And so I absolutely get it. Even the food desert that you were talking about, like when I was teaching in Beaumont, they had built a Wingstop that was maybe 5 minutes up from my house, and it was on the way back from the high school. And I had gone there so much that the late night shift dude knew who I was. So when as soon as I come in, you getting your 6-piece, and when I get my 6-piece and my fries, he'll throw some extra joints in there. I'm like, I appreciate you, I holler at you, and then he'd be like, man, you ain't got to worry about paying for it. So I had a hookup. So obviously, you know what I'm saying. So I get everything that you're saying, but it is very detrimental to your health. Like a lot of people don't know this, and honestly, a lot of this stuff isn't just about band directing, because it can happen even when you're in college. You know, I experienced my first levels of stressors, and I developed anxiety when I was in college. That was the first time I'd ever went to therapy before, was when I was in college. And ever since then, you know, I've always had anxiety, and it didn't help me when I became a band director, because then now I'm building all these different stressors, all these different anxieties, and I'm eating bad, and I'm not working out, like all of these different things, all these different pressures that are built on you. So I get everything you're saying, and I promise you, anything that you have probably said to Chuck, my wife has said on multiple occasions. Trust me.
I'm tired of talking at this point.
Look,
I'm tired of talking.
we
But
had,
you don't.
yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, but you don't have any time to go to the gym because you
I
spend
go
the
on,
6
yeah,
days.
I go on campus. Like I do
Yeah,
that band, and I'm like, hey, I'm going over to that band's always here. I'm going over to the gym.
when you put some boundaries up on some things, but a lot of us, we come from like everybody on the screen is from that same millennial generation where our parents, we saw our dads work until they about to die, our mothers carrying the household until they about to die, and we groomed ourselves. We got groomed into this mindset that we just have to work hard and there's no room for health. And that's generational with our people. It's generational with Black people, you know, eating good but feeling bad on the inside. There's stress eating. I gained 30 pounds my first year as a high school band director. 30 pounds. That's why y'all watch the journey. People say what they want about me. That was hard trying to be a high school band director. I said, and it happened that I pulled up to the building one day and my back seized up on me. I couldn't even get out the car. Was having back that stuff, stress goes into your physical health. So listen to the wife, Chuck. I'm team the wife because she wants you to be around. But it just happens with the job, any high stress job. If you don't have some boundaries and stuff, it's gonna wear you out. And the mental health piece, I'm not joking when I said I left because my therapist, she said, why do you think these things are happening? I said, I don't know. She said it's PTSD. That's like and she said, no, think about how many problems have you had to solve today that were not through your own cause? That's been a band director. We are always putting out fires. My husband works with me now. After about a week, he said, this is every day? I said, every day. Every day, small fire, big fire. It might be my first chair clarinet player is suspended, and we got a performance at 2:00. It can be, it's just every day something different. New initiative comes down. You didn't submit your attendance on time. It can be a litany. Every parent want to cuss you out because their baby not allowed to get on the stage but missed 200 days of school. It's every day you're putting out a fire, and that has to run you down. And then we got that food daddy across the street. Mine was oh my gosh, Arlon's carry out. They knew me by first name. They knew what my specials were. And you eat to kind of stay awake, to have energy, but it's actually killing you. And if we got a good circle, we got good spouses and we got good friends, and we listen, we can find another path. But then now you got that social media daddy behind us saying you ain't done enough. Insert today.
But see, and you talked about, this 40-year-old, attitude and just this epiphany. You have to be the change or model the behavior, the change you want to see. I hear a lot in the circles, I'm not, I wasn't in a band. I'm not musically inclined at all. But
Pause. Yes, she is. I taught her first scale on piano, and she's been practicing over the last couple weeks.
okay,
So,
Hold up, left
I
hand,
know
right hand.
yeah.
she knows the C major scale, 1 octave, both hands.
Both hands. Look at that.
Correct
All right.
fingering.
Look at
All
that.
right.
Yeah, do a little something.
Better know how to
But
do
I
your
hear
crosses.
a lot of
All
you
right.
all say that, this is just how it's always been done and how it's always been done. And so if you all continue to do the same things that you've always done, you're gonna keep getting what you always got. So if you want to change, it really starts with your mindset, and you have to be committed to being the change.
Yeah. But then it's hard, like when you see your mentors and the people that you've worked, that you've idolized in a sense. We were talking about parents. My dad was a retired first sergeant in the military. I
Mhm.
remember him waking up at 3:30 in the morning, and my wife, his wife, my mother, having his uniform pressed and ready to go, him out the door, and then sometimes not coming in till 1, 2 in the morning, and seeing that and be like, son, to be early, you got to be on time. That comes from the military. That don't come from band.
Facts.
And I've heard that since I was a little kid. We were talking the other week. She was like, why we got to be 2 hours early to everything? Like, that's, part of it.
But that's only when it's pertaining to something you want to do or that's band related. Because if it's something I got to do,
we get there right on time,
but he ain't late then. It's on time.
Yeah, but we have a lot of like PTSD that we don't, really talk about,
We do.
and just job casualties or just, what we see.
I just want to say this. I've been in the circles, and there's some mixed reviews on the mental health piece. Listen, you can believe in God and love Jesus and also go to therapy. This is coming from a mental health clinician herself. You can go to therapy. It is okay to go to therapy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Heck, I'm a therapist with a therapist.
First of all, let me pause and say I absolutely 100,000% agree with you. I will never tell a person that they don't need to go see therapy. I love Jesus, I love God, but I can tell you this: you pray as much as you possibly can, and God can still send you a therapist. God will put a therapist in your way. I don't understand that. Anyway,
He's the one who provided us with this gift.
I ain't gonna get into that, but right. But you did say something that just kind of, I don't know, put me in a state of confusion, and that is, you said be the change, and while I don't disagree with you on that, I think my question what is always going to be, what does that look like from a black band director's perspective? Because I have to agree with Portia with what she was saying. We expect so much from our programs. So what does that change look like when we're trying to value ourselves, but everybody else is valuing or wanting us to value other things? Why did that just fall, by the way? God dang it.
You gotta be Donovan Wells, 2 tears in a bucket.
And I think that it's for from person to person. You got to be your best self. What do you value? What are the values that you have personally, professionally? Because the external chatter of what everybody else wants, I don't know how that's gonna help.
And they're never gonna be satisfied. They're never gonna be
Never.
satisfied. So
Never.
you might as well just do what makes you happy.
because
That's what he do. He don't have no problem. Okay, y'all know what the book is. We might add one song, but here it go. You want to hear it? Here it go.
Okay.
Say
Look,
no, mean it.
look, when I was teaching in Vegas, there was so many band directors that Tuesday, Thursday, Friday night football, same show the entire year, and a visiting. Bands didn't travel. When we showed up to a game, they're like, "Hey, what y'all doing here?" I'm like, "I thought this was what bands do," and they just keep it pushing. They just keep it pushing. They worry about festivals in the spring and taking their kids to Disneyland in California. Like I saw so many band directors that were just like, "Hey, we just on autopilot," and so me and Dr. Chisholm all the time. We always say we create the monster. We create the monster. My first few years, I was always just, oh, we got to, the McDonald's opening up. We got to perform there. This battle bands, we got to do this. We got to host one. Going all over the place. And I never forget, we were at this jamboree and the host band turned the lights off and they had this light show and stuff. And I'm sitting on my podium and I have our daughter and she's like 4 maybe with that backpack on, right? Like, I'd rather be at the park. Like, what am I doing here? And I slowly started pulling it away. I had to wean it off because I had already made the expectation that that's what we were going to do every year. And, certain kids were feeling slighted, like, oh, why are we not doing this, Mr. Connor? Or why are we not? And I was like, we got to shift our mindset in terms of what we value as a program. And slowly but surely it got there. But it took a lot. And even parents as well, too, like, oh, y'all not going to this? Why y'all not doing this? And then you see the internet chatter and you don't try to look for it, but sometimes it come across your timeline and that band they scared, or they don't want to do this, or this, that, and the third. And sometimes that eats away at you. But I think what Crystal and Portia and everybody has said on here, like the ones that like get it, they ain't worried about anybody else. They just do them. We're gonna do a little bit of this. We're gonna do a little bit of that. We're gonna do some things differently, and then keep it pushing. We try to keep up with the Joneses too much, and then we find out like it ain't helping us. It ain't helping us. Like I hear that word culture all the time, and it bothers me. Like the word tradition, and it gets mixed up with what it's for. I can't
I saw a
think.
post that said tradition is peer pressure from dead people.
But I find it hard to believe that like directors like Dr. William P. Foster, Emery Fears, right, and directors, at that caliber when they were building and starting these programs, I can't think that they were thinking about that.
Absolutely not.
I feel that they were
Not
just,
at all.
hey, I want to educate these kids so they can be the best people first, then musicians, and we're going to do us. And that's why I really feel like, they have the golden era of hip hop, like the late 80s, early 90s. I felt that we were in like the golden era of band, like the 90s, mid 90s, and early 2000s, where I could close my eyes and I could be like, oh,
that's such and such.
That's this, that's this. It was like a buffet of sounds. Now, like, I can do it because I have a trained ear, like all of us on here, right? But it's hard. It's hard sometimes, and I feel bad because, like, one rehearsal earlier this year, I was like just pointing like this to my kids like all the time. I was like, what are you doing this for? Is it for this? Is it for this? I was like, if it is for this, we're spending way too much time. It needs to be for this. Like, what are we doing this for? If we're going to be here, we got to do it for this and for a bigger thing. Like, I think you were talking about pride, Julian, I think on the band report, just like pride. And I was like, man, that's what we did it for. And it was for a bigger purpose. So when people saw our university and our programs, that they were like, man, like I appreciate what they're doing. Even though I may not understand it, even though I may not be a band person, like I see that they're working hard and doing what they need to do and representing at a high level versus I don't know versus the
But
latter.
Chuck,
You know?
but Chuck, we've lost our identity.
Yeah.
I mean, just plain and simple, we've lost our identity. In for the culture, we have lost more culture than we've actually gained. And
Well,
it's amazing that people can't see it. We've lost genres of music that we created. We've forfeited our uniqueness to make sure that we get the same type of cookie cutter likes that insert other band gets. Um, we forfeit the idea of different isn't bad, and because it gets attention and that dopamine hit from that like button, and we see those thousands of people that like that band and not yours, and it's telling when people rate a band's merit off of competitiveness now. I've seen that all week long. This band ain't competitive. And you know what? Somebody's gonna come for me for this. This performing arts school ain't out doing all these events. They can't be good. What's their purpose? Is like what you said, Chuck. Do kids go to these performing arts schools to be in a 200-piece marching band? I'm telling you right now, not in my school. That's not what it is. They're there because they have a different purpose, and that purpose and identity is okay. If I play oboe, who the hell are you to tell me that for me to be relevant, I need to go ahead and pick up this saxophone, daddy, and hit this field, not 8 to 5? That doesn't even make sense. When the sheer instrument alone is underserved, we don't see a lot of us do it, play it, and then you're gonna say, well, you poo and your band poo because your school's purpose and culture and identity is something that is not the norm by the masses. How dare you?
well, that
And then
that
how dare you put the word culture on top of it? I feel like our ancestors are spinning like on a rotisserie in their graves. Like, this is what we die for?
rotisserie.
Mm.
I
This is
don't
what we die
disagree with
for?
you. I can tell you this: that oboe player, while everybody's worrying about her cranking up or him cranking up, she gonna get that good scholarship.
She gonna get that money
Who's gonna be paid for just by breathing air?
anywhere they go. I'm gonna be honest. When we doing auditions and we get a double read, we're like, all right, I already mentally know where my baseline is gonna be because I need this kid. I need this kid. There are too many of kids that look like you and I that don't play those instruments. I
Mm.
remember O'Neal Sanford said it himself. He was like, most people, most of us don't experience double reads until like graduate school
Yep.
or even college,
Yep.
our undergrad. And I'm just like, man, he is 110% correct. Like this year, when we had the consortium, we had a high school student that we hired to play the harp. And that was a connection through Professor Wright. And I was like, man, we had her, and then there was another harp player from, oh God, I forgot what school it was from. But anyway, I was like, y'all got to take a picture together because I have never seen two harp players together at the same time. Never, never. I was like, it's like a unicorn runs into another unicorn. Like it doesn't happen. And that's so unfortunate because when you get in these spaces, I'll just be honest, when I was in graduate school, hearing some of the conversations from some of these folks, I'm just like, man, like you've had all of this for that long? Like, man, just kind of being jealous. Like, man, I don't know what it is to, what I'm saying, have an English horn in the ensemble. I've never conducted one. you know, or have a harp or things like that. And so, man, I just again, it's hard for me to think of like our band ancestors and what they had to go through and the things that they did, um, for us to be where we are right now. And I just know that their thought process was not the same. Than than some that's out there right now. And I get things have to change and evolve, but it's like, come on now, we've lost our identity. We've lost our identity in a lot of ways, and not the identity that everybody thinks about.
Facts. Um, I will say this: we have hit the 2-hour mark.
Me.
No.
No, okay.
No.
No.
But
Bum, bum, bum.
the cool thing about that is the fact that one of the things that I do appreciate specifically about these conversations is we're able to really dive deep into some really, really important conversations. And I think that even though, this channel is really always talking about or staying around HBCU bands, HBCU music education, all that kind of stuff, we can always dive into deeper conversations to really start talking about just life, things that we're continuously dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So I don't mind having these long conversations when I feel like they're truly, truly necessary. So I definitely appreciate you, Crystal, and the Connors for all of the insight that you guys continue to bring to us. And then Crystal has a show on Friday, that is going to possibly go a little bit deeper. Okay. So you guys need to make sure that you all check that out. Before we get out of here, because I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close it out. Let's do it the same way that we do it every week. Let's go around the room. Connors, because I'm reading the way y'all got it on the screen.
There we go. Yep.
Connors, any final thoughts, anything you got for the culture?
I love y'all.
We love you too, sis. That's my birthday twin.
That's my birthday twin.
Again, thanks for having us on there. Just want to plug the inaugural Marching Maroon and White High School Band Camp that's coming up June 9th in Huntsville, Alabama, on the campus of Alabama A&M University. Again, it's our first one, so we're really
you said June 9th?
Yeah, June 9th. And so,
I'm in school still.
it ain't stopped for us. I ain't stopped working. I've actually been working harder since the kids been out. But yeah, we doing that, and so we're excited for that. And if there's any high school seniors out there that are looking for a home, we've got scholarship money, and we would love to have you join our full comprehensive program that's doing some amazing things. And so just again, thank you for the opportunity, and yeah, go Bulldogs.
You better go ahead and represent.
For sure.
All right.
I don't know if y'all saw, we got Deion Sanders' daughter. She transferred from Colorado to A&M.
Yeah, he said that was stupid.
Right, but let me tell you, we got
I'm glad she didn't listen to that external noise.
Right, Normal, Alabama. You're right, Edwin. You're right. Normal, Alabama. A lot of people don't know that. That's why I say Huntsville, but Normal, Alabama. You're right.
All right, Crystal. Any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
At the end of the day, do what is healthy for you and yours first. I mean, if it's not healthy for you, then who replaces you when you're not here no more, whether that's your mental or your physical. So you gotta love you and do for you first. Cut out all the noise. They not paying your mortgage, they not working for your check, and they not the ones in front of your band. So forget them people, respectfully.
Portia, what you got? I mean, everybody there said everything.
Right. I want to promote me time. I do something for myself that I want to do at least once a week. Find something that you're doing just for you and commit to that, because you commit to everything else.
That was good. Man, all of y'all said amazing things. I really don't have these amazing anecdotes and things that you always said. I'll definitely say this. I think that, again, I believe in community and being able to speak to someone. So always be open-minded to realizing that you do have people that you can reach out to and that you can talk to. And don't create a fantasy in your mind that doesn't exist. People are here for you. One of the things that, and this is very honest, one of the things that I can't stand is when people be like, you only call me when you need something. Well, isn't that what community is about? Like, I can't call you every day. Like, the amount of people that I know, I can't call you every day. But when I need you, I need you. That's what community is about. And so don't be afraid to reach out to people. And while we're on that subject, because we were just having that amazing conversation about mental health and men and things like that, if you are in the DFW area, more or less East Dallas, we are having something at our church, which is, I know we don't typically talk about church, but this happens to be part of the conversation, that's called Things That Make Men Cry. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you are in the area and you do want to have this conversation, or you do want to talk about things, it's really going to be cool because it's going to be led by a licensed clinical psychologist and author, Dr. Gloria Morrow. And so I would definitely advise anybody who's going to be in the area to come check that out, men specifically. But yeah, just come and check it out. And remember this, don't put your students on social media unless they got that piece of paper that says that it's okay. Keep your kids off social media and be professional. Don't be getting your hair did on social media by kids either, just because that's just unprofessional. Anyway, I ain't got nothing else. What church? I'm sorry. Rockwall Friendship Baptist Church. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. You are appreciated. All right. Anyway, I ain't got nothing else. Friday, Diary Lady Band Director, and we will see you all in 2 weeks.